Hare Krishna, my friends. Good to see you all tonight. It's Friday. We're here in Bhaktiville. I'm here with Bhakti Grace and Bhakti Mimulus, and hopefully others will join us as time goes on. We're continuing our reading of the Nectar of Devotion, which is a summary study and translation of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which literally means the flood of nectar of devotion. What a great title. And written by Rupa Goswami. So tonight we start on page 114 of the book, or page 150 of the PDF. And this is chapter 14, titled Devotional Qualifications. Unfortunately, my book is not open to that page. Okay, here we go. Some scholars recommend that knowledge, I did it again. You guys have to remind me that I'm not offering my obeisances to Srila Prabhupada before we start. Sorry, so let me do that. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at His lotus feet. Our respectful obeisances are unto you, O spiritual master, servant of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. You are kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Dev and delivering the Western countries, which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. I also offer my respectful obeisances unto the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord and the devotees here in Bhaktiville and those who are listening. They are just like desire trees and can fulfill the desires of everyone. They are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. All right, please forgive my omission. All right, here we go. Some scholars recommend that knowledge and renunciation are important factors for elevating oneself to devotional service, but actually, that is not a fact. Actually, the cultivation of knowledge or renunciation, which are favorable for achieving a footing in Krishna consciousness, may be accepted in the beginning, but ultimately they may also come to be rejected. For devotional service is dependent on nothing other than the sentiment or desire for such service. It requires nothing more than sincerity. So just a side note, we were just discussing this in Bhagavad Gita class on Tuesdays at 7, second lifetime. Here it is, reiterated in Nectar of Devotion. So it is the opinion of expert devotees that mental speculation and the artificial austerities of yoga practice may be favorable for becoming liberated from material emotion. Oh my goodness. Pandita says she's trying to log in, and I apologize for not turning off all these sounds again. Boy, I need to make a list. Okay. They will not help at all in the progress of devotional service. These processes are, therefore, not favorable for entering into the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Actually, Krishna consciousness, devotional service itself, is the only way of advancing in devotional life. Devotional service is absolute. It is both the cause and the effect. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause and effect of all that be, and to approach Him, the Absolute, the process of devotional service, which is also absolute, has to be adopted. I think I skipped a little section of that first sentence because, and this is important, that people who are involved in this mental speculation, this also makes one's heart harder and harder. And I've seen that in some people. They just can't seem to kind of relax and move into this arena of sincerity. It's very hard. Anyway, this is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita by the Lord Himself. Quote, "One can understand me only through devotional service," unquote. In beginning his teaching of the Gita, The Lord said to Arjuna, quote, "Because you are my devotee, I shall teach these secrets to you." End quote. Vedic knowledge means ultimately to understand the Supreme Lord, and the process of entering into his kingdom is devotional service. That is accepted by all authentic scriptures. Mental speculators neglect the process of devotional service by simply trying to defeat others in philosophical research that fail to develop the ecstasy of devotion. In the 11th canto, 20th chapter, 31st verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna says, quote, "My dear Uddhava, for persons who are seriously engaged in my service, the cultivation of philosophical speculation and artificial renunciation are not very favorable. When a person becomes my devotee, he automatically attains the fruits of the renunciation of material enjoyment, and he gets sufficient knowledge to understand the absolute truth." End quote. That is the test of advancement in devotional service. A devotee cannot be in darkness because the Lord shows him special favor and enlightens him from within. In the 11th canto, 20th chapter, 32nd, 33rd verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord further instructs Uddhava, quote, "My dear friend, the profits derived from fruitive activities, austerities, the culture of philosophical knowledge, renouncement, the practice of mystic yoga, charity, and all similar auspicious activities are automatically achieved by my devotees, those who are simply attached to me by loving service. These devotees have everything at their disposal, but they desire nothing outside my devotional service. If ever a devotee should desire some material profit, to be promoted to the heavenly planets, or some spiritual profit, to go to the Vaikunthas, by my causeless mercy, their desires are very easily fulfilled." End quote. Actually, a person who is developing Krishna consciousness and still has some attachment to material enjoyment will soon be freed from such a tendency by regularly discharging devotional service under the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master. Oh, Hare Krishna, Kandita. Nice to see you. Srila Rupa Goswami then recommends that one should not be attached to material sense enjoyment, but accept everything enjoyable which is in relationship to Krishna. For example, eating is necessary, and one wants some palatable dishes to satisfy his sense of taste. So in that case, for the satisfaction of Krishna, rather than for the satisfaction of the tongue, some palatable dishes may be prepared and offered to Krishna. Then it is renunciation. Let the palatable dishes be prepared, but unless they are offered to Krishna, one should not accept them for eating. This vow of rejecting anything which is not offered to Krishna is actually renunciation, and by such renunciation, one is able to satisfy the demands of the senses. The impersonalists who try to avoid everything material may undergo severe austerities, but they miss the opportunity of being engaged in the service of the Lord. Thus, the renunciation is not sufficient for perfection. There are many instances where, following such artificial renunciation, without any contact with devotional service, the impersonalists again fell down and became attracted to the material contamination. There are many supposed renouncers, even at the present moment, who officially become sannyasis or renouncers and outwardly claim that spiritual existence is truth and material existence untruth. In this way, artificially they make a show of renunciation of the material world. However, because they cannot reach the point of devotional service, they fail to achieve the goal again and again come back to material activities, such as philanthropic work, political agitation, etc. There are many instances of so-called sannyasis who gave up the world as untruth but again came to the material world because they were not seeking their real repose at the lotus feet of the Lord. One should not give up anything which can be utilized in the service of the Lord. That is a secret of devotional service. Anything that can be utilized in advancing Krishna consciousness and devotional service should be accepted. For instance, we are using many machines for the advancement of our present Krishna consciousness movement. Machines like typewriters, dictaphones, tape recorders, microphones, and airplanes. Sometimes people ask us, why are you utilizing material products if you condemn the advancement of material civilization? But actually, we do not condemn. We simply ask people to do whatever they are doing in Krishna consciousness. This is the same principle on which, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna advised Arjuna to utilize his fighting abilities in devotional service. Similarly, we are utilizing these machines for Krishna's service. With such sentiment for Krishna consciousness, we can accept everything. The typewriter can be utilized for advancing our Krishna consciousness movement. We must accept it. Similarly, the dictaphone or any other machine must be used. Our vision is that Krishna is everything. Krishna is the cause and effect, and nothing belongs to us. Krishna's things must be used in the service of Krishna. That is our vision. And so in keeping with that vision, here we are in Bhaktiville, virtual reality community. So we're keeping with Srila Prabhupada's vision. This does not mean, however, that we should give up the principles of discharging devotional service or neglect abiding by the rules and regulations prescribed therein. In the neophyte stage of devotion, one must follow all the principles regulated by the authority of the spiritual master. The acceptance and rejection of things should always be in pursuance of the devotional principles, not that one can independently manufacture some idea of what should be accepted or rejected. The spiritual master, as the visible manifestation of Krishna, is necessary, therefore, to direct the devotee on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The spiritual master must never be carried away by an accumulation of wealth or large number of followers. A bona fide spiritual master will never become like that. But sometimes, if a spiritual master is not properly authorized and not on his own initiative becomes, and only on his own initiative becomes a spiritual master, he may be carried away by an accumulation of wealth and large numbers of disciples. He is not a very high grade of devotional service. If a person is carried away by such achievements, then his devotional service becomes slackened. One should therefore strictly adhere to the principles of disciplic succession. A Krishna-conscious person, being naturally purified, has no need of developing any other purificatory process of thought or action. On account of his being highly elevated in Krishna consciousness, he has already acquired all the good qualities and is following the rules and regulations prescribed for the mystic yogic process. Such rules are automatically practiced by the devotees. A concrete example is the quality of nonviolence, which is considered a good qualification. A devotee is naturally nonviolent and therefore doesn't have to practice nonviolence separately. Some people seek purification by joining a vegetarian movement, but a devotee is automatically a vegetarian. He doesn't need to practice separately in this matter or to join any society for vegetarians. He is automatically a vegetarian. Grease has a comment. He says, "Oh yes, like using my tarot cards to serve those who need a reading." Yes, you're doing it in Krishna's service. There you go. There are many other instances showing that a devotee needn't practice anything but Krishna consciousness. All the good qualities of the demigods automatically develop within him. Those who are intentionally practicing to be vegetarians or to become nonviolent may have good qualifications by material estimation, but these qualifications are not sufficient to make them devotees. A vegetarian is not necessarily a devotee, nor is a nonviolent person, but a devotee is automatically both vegetarian and nonviolent. We must conclude, therefore, that vegetarianism or nonviolence is not the cause of devotion. We were reading something the other day that Prabhupada said, even pigeons are vegetarians. So that's not the qualification that we're looking for here. So in this connection, there is a story in the Skanda Purana about a hunter who was converted into a great devotee under the instruction of Narada Muni. When the hunter became a perfect devotee, he was not prepared even to kill an ant. Parvata Muni, a friend of Narada's, saw the wonderful transformation of the hunter by devotional service and remarked, quote, "My dear hunter, your unwillingness to kill even an ant is not very astonishing. Any person who develops the devotional attitude has all the good qualities automatically manifested in his person. A devotee is never a cause of distress to anyone." Unquote. Sri Rupa Goswami affirms herein that purification of consciousness, purification of bodily activities, austerities, peace of mind, etc., all become automatically manifest in the person who is engaged in devotional service. Sri Rupa Goswami affirms herein that there are 9 different kinds of devotional service, which are listed as hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshiping the deity in the temple, praying, carrying out orders, serving him as a friend, and sacrificing everything for him. Each and every one of these processes is so powerful that if anyone follows even one single one of them, he can achieve the desired perfection without fail. For example, if one is attached simply to hearing about the Lord, and another is attached to chanting the glories of the name, both will achieve their desired goal in devotional service. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this has been explained. One may execute 1, 2, 3, or all of the different processes of devotional service. And at the ultimate end, he will achieve the desired goal of being established in devotional service. There are concrete examples of how a devotee discharged one of these services and achieved perfection. King Parikshit achieved the desired goal of life simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukadeva Goswami achieved the desired goal of life simply by reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj became successful in his devotional service by always remembering the Lord. Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, was successful by engaging herself in massaging the lotus feet of the Lord. King Prithu became successful by worshiping in the temple. Akrura became successful by offering prayers. Hanuman became successful by rendering personal service to Lord Ramachandra. Arjuna became successful by being a friend of Krishna. I'm sorry, I have to stop for a moment. I'm going to turn off my mic and answer this. Sorry.
Hare Krishna. I don't have anything to say. Are we
Right.
supposed to speak now?
No, I'm sorry. My daughter was urgently calling me, so I had to respond and let her know that I would call her back soon. All right, so concrete examples. Those are great examples. There are also other examples of devotees who discharged all the different items together. In the 9th canto, 4th chapter, 15th, 16th, and 17th verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a statement about Maharaj Ambarish, who followed every one of the devotional processes. In these verses, Shukadeva Goswami says, quote, King Ambarish first of all concentrated his mind on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and then engaged his speech in describing the pastimes. Oh, my phone. I just want to throw my phone away. Engaged his speech in describing the pastimes and activities of the Lord. He engaged his hands in washing the temple of the Lord. He engaged his ears in hearing of the transcendental glories of the Lord. He engaged his eyes in seeing the beautiful deity in the temple. He engaged his body in associating with the pure devotees of the Lord. And bracketed here, when you associate with someone, you have to sit down together, eat together, etc. And in this way, the touch of your body with their body is inevitable. Ambarish Maharaj made his association only with pure devotees and did not allow his body to be touched by anyone else. End of bracket. He engaged his nostrils in smelling the flowers and tulsi, which were offered to Krishna, and he engaged his tongue in tasting Krishna prasadam, food prepared specifically for offering to the Lord, the remnants of which are taken by the devotees. Maharaj Ambarish was able to offer very nice prasadam to Krishna because he was a king and had no scarcity of finance. He used to offer Krishna the most royal dishes and then would taste the remnants as Krishna prasadam. There was no scarcity in his royal style because he had a very beautiful temple wherein the deity of the Lord was decorated with costly paraphernalia and offered high-grade food. So everything was available, and his engagement was always completely in Krishna consciousness. The idea is that we should follow in the footsteps of great devotees. If we are unable to execute all the different items of devotional service, we must try to execute at least one of them, as exemplified by previous acharyas. If we are engaged in the execution of all the items of devotional service, as was Maharaj Ambarish, then the perfection of devotional service is guaranteed from each one of these items. With the first complete engagement, one becomes automatically detached from material contamination, and liberation becomes the maidservant of the devotee. This idea is confirmed by Bilvamangala Thakur. If one develops unalloyed devotion to the Lord, liberation will follow the devotee as his maidservant. Srila Rupa Goswami says that the regulative principles of devotional service are sometimes described by authorities as the path of serving the Lord in opulence. Chapter 15. I don't think we'll get through this in the next 6 minutes, but it's a good chapter to start. The examples of spontaneous devotional service can be easily seen in Krishna's direct associates in Vrindavan. The spontaneous dealings of the residents of Vrindavan in relationship with Krishna are called Bhaganuga. These beings don't have to learn anything about devotional service. They are already perfect in all regulative principles and have achieved the spontaneous loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For example, the cowherd boys who are playing with Krishna do not have to learn by austerities or penances or yogic practice how to play with him. They have passed all tests of regulative principles in their previous lives, and as a result, they are now elevated to the position of direct association with Krishna as his dear friends. Their spontaneous attitude is called Raganuga Bhakti. Srila Rupa Goswami has defined Raganuga Bhakti as spontaneous attraction for something while completely absorbed in thoughts of it with an intense desire of love. Devotional service executed with such feelings of spontaneous love is called Raganuga Bhakti. Devotional service under the heading of Raganuga can be further divided into two categories. One category is called sensuous attraction, and the other is called relationship. And the Sanskrit for those two things are called Kamarupa or Sambandha Rupa. Those are the two different kinds of Raganuga Bhakti. In this connection, there is a statement by Narada Muni to Yudhishthira in the 7th canto, 1st chapter, 29th verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. There, Narada says, quote, "My dear king, there are many devotees who first become attracted to the personality of Godhead for purposes of sense gratification, from being envious of him, out of fear of him, or from desiring to associate affectionately with him. Ultimately, these attractions become freed from all material contamination, and gradually the worshipper develops spiritual love and achieves that ultimate goal of life which is desired by the pure devotee." End quote. The gopis may be considered to be examples of spontaneous love and sensual attraction. The gopis are young girls and Krishna is a young boy. Superficially, it seems that the gopis are attracted to Krishna on grounds of sex. Similarly, King Kamsa was attracted to Krishna because of fearfulness. Kamsa was always fearful of Krishna because it had been foretold that his sister's son, Krishna, would kill him. Shishupal was also always envious of Krishna, and the descendants of King Yadu, due to their family relationship with Krishna, are always thinking of him as one of their family members. All of these different kinds of devotees have a spontaneous attraction for Krishna in different categories, and they achieve the same desired goal of life. The attraction of the gopis for Krishna and the affection of the members of the Yadu dynasty are both accepted as spontaneous or Raganuga. The attraction of Kamsa to Krishna in fearfulness and the attraction of Shishupal in enviousness are not accepted as devotional service, however, because their attitudes are not favorable. Devotional service should be executed only in a favorable frame of mind. Therefore, according to Srila Rupa Goswami, such attractions are not considered to be in devotional service. Again, he analyzes the affection of the yadus. If it is on the platform of friendship, then it is spontaneous love. But if it is on the platform of regulative principles, then it is not. And only when the affection comes to the platform of spontaneous love is it counted in the category of pure devotional service. There may be some difficulty in understanding that both the gopis and Kamsa achieved the same goal, so this point should be clearly understood, because the attitudes of Kamsa and Shishupal were different from that of the gopis. Although in all these cases, the focus is on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all the devotees are elevated to the spiritual world, there is still a distinction between these two classes of souls. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that the Absolute Truth is one, and he is manifested as impersonal Brahman, Paramatma, or Supersoul, and Bhagavan, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here is a spiritual distinction. Although Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan are the same and one absolute truth, Still, devotees like Kamsa and Shishupala could attain only to the Brahman effulgence. They could not have realization of Paramatma or Bhagavan. That is the distinction. And that's the end of our time. There's this. Oh, sorry, I didn't see these here. Comment. Greece had a comment. Those cowherd friends of Krishna must have lived many lives before they attained such an incredible level, so near to Krishna. Yes, they are his eternal friends, relationships, and then there are those of us who work at it. I apologize for all the interruptions, my friends and family. They just want to get in touch with me during this half hour every Friday. So I apologize for that, and I will. It's real life. Bhakti says, we don't worry about it. It's okay. Thank you. No problems. But anyway, thank you. And this is such a great chapter. So we'll continue this chapter on Raganuga Bhakti next week because it leads into so much more definition of the spiritual life and Vaidhi Bhakti and spontaneous devotion. So this is a really nectar part of these instructions that Rupa Goswami has given us. All right, my friends, have a wonderful, wonderful day. And we'll do Nectar of Devotion again on Sunday morning. So I hope to see you then. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.